So first and foremost, I'm Angela White. I'm a realtor with Artisan Sotheby's, and I want to thank you all for coming. I'm really, really grateful to have just a few of you that we can help educate on ways that you can be optimal buyers in our super competitive market. So I had been asked why we wanted to have this workshop, and the reason is because there's some massive gridlock in our inventory, meaning there's people that don't want to move out of their houses, which is creating a lack of movement for those who want to buy. So how it would normally go is we buy our first home, then maybe you move up to your second, then maybe your dream home, but either way, those homes usually are 2 stories or tri-level. Maybe you had a custom home built or something along those lines. Well, now we all get a little, let's just say, long in the tooth, shall we? Age doesn't stop for anybody, and unfortunately knees go out, and so everybody needs a single story. Well, there's these wonderful people on earth that are fondly referred to as baby boomers, and all the boomers want a single story home. And there's just not enough of them to go around. And they're not nearly as nice as the homes they currently live in. So why are they going to move? So one of the reasons they don't want to move is because they don't want to be in a competitive market, in a competitive bidding war situation. Well, unfortunately, that's just the way that it is. We're in a seller's market, and there is this thing called a bidding war. However, today what we're going to talk about is how to make you an optimal buyer, meaning an all-cash buyer. And that's going to save you time, energy, and money at the end of the day. And then ideally you'll be first in line to get that single story home that you really, really want. So that's what we're here for so far. I'm going to hand it off to Jeannine Sheppard of People's Home Equity, who is my friend and a great mortgage advisor.
Hi, I'm Jeannine Sheppard. I am a residential mortgage advisor in Santa Rosa, and I come with a 15-day close, but I've actually been able to recently one-up that with a 7-day close on a residential home purchase. And as you'll kind of learn through this process, it's been pretty difficult for people to acquire homes. You know, they're overbidding and spending way too much money on a home. And so cash buyers are king, and they're able to acquire properties for a better price. And we have products that will help you to do that, to make offers as cash and not have to get stuck in bidding wars and offer things like a 7-day close. And with the help of my friend, Rick Wright, and he's going to tell you everything you need to know about bridge loans and hard money.
Thank you for the introduction. Everybody, I just want to make sure you guys can hear me okay? Okay. So I'm Rick Wright. We're a private banker that's a lending partner with People's Home Equity, and we work with Jeannine. So what we're going to concentrate on today is what's called a bridge loan. So you guys have been in business a couple of years. What a bridge loan is now is different than it used to be. A bridge loan back in the day was just a temporary loan that tied you over for one reason or another, because you needed cash, you wanted to buy another place, but you didn't have the down payment. And so then came in equity lines. Equity lines, as we all know, Angie, you worked at Chase, there's hardly any equity lines left, and they're very difficult to qualify for. So what we've come in and established, and we've had a fantastic track record. So what we've done with our bridge loans is, I've got a worksheet, but we're not going to go to that. I just want to give you a couple benefits because I want to teach you how this works. This is going to help you for your buyers, that you'll keep this as a cheat sheet. So as Angie said, Angela. Okay. So if you've got a buyer that has a property that has some equity in it, and significant equity, we're talking 30, 35, 40%. They want to buy property B. They live in property A, and so let's say property A is worth $700,000. I'm just using ballpark numbers. They're able to buy property B, own both properties simultaneously, and have payment on property B, be able to compete like all cash. So I'm going to do the math. I know you're already looking confused. But
no, I'm thinking, I'm doing the math in my head.
Okay, so this is the way it's going to work, because it gets a little complicated, but once I do the math, it's real easy. So property A they live in now. They have probably a small mortgage or very little debt on it. They want to buy property B, and they want to buy the property B non-contingent, compete with all cash, and be able to move in quickly. So as Jeannine said, the stars aligned on her transaction. We closed it in 7 days, and that's no appraisal. Escrow was dialed in. The young lady lived up in Oregon. She found her dream home in Petaluma. I was able to walk in, look through it, inspect it, no appraisal. It was just my pictures. That was it. So we don't have to wait for appraisal. We move so quick, we actually shock escrow companies and title companies. They're not able to keep up with us because, again, when we lend to People's Home Equity, it's private money. It's a private bank. It's not a big financial institution out of Washington, D.C., New York, North Carolina.
What's your bank again?
People's Home Equity. We're a lending partner with People's Home Equity.
Okay.
So everything will funnel through Jeannine.
Still under that name.
Correct, correct. So let me give you a couple examples. One was, again, Jeannine was a little rock star. Her first deal with us. Lady lived up in Oregon, I forgot the town, had a lot of equity. She was able to buy her property here, close in 7 days. We had a Superior Court judge in Alameda. She lived up in the hills, had a 180-degree view of all the bridges in the Alameda, Oakland Hills. She had significant equity in it. She had great income. She had great credit. So I went over to inspect the property on a Saturday. She was a little hesitant to do it. She was still trying to get conventional lending. But as I'm walking through this house, it was dated. It was a Mediterranean-style home, but it needed new floors, floors done, windows done. And then on that Saturday morning, as I'm walking through, in comes her husband with 2 St. Bernards on a Saturday. And then I said, can you find rental housing up in Sonoma County temporarily? Because she got transferred to Sonoma County as a judge. She found her dream home up in the Sonoma Hills, private gate, beautiful, beautiful place, but she couldn't close in time. The sellers are going to say, you got 2 weeks, otherwise we got to put it back on the market. So when I said, can you find temporary rental housing with 2 St. Bernards? And then she points down below and says, I got 7 chickens. And I just kind of sat there and I go, here's my card. Looks like we're going to start on Monday. So everybody has different scenarios. Had another husband and wife. The wife had severe anxiety, severe anxiety. And they had a nice house in Danville. Needed to downsize to Walnut Creek. So we're downtown, close to doctors, close to restaurants and stores. And he didn't want to stress his wife out. He wanted to keep it super mellow, not a lot of open houses. And that way he was able to buy the new condo for his wife and himself, move them in. She didn't have to sit through open houses, being gone. You know how stressful that is. He was so grateful for it because afterwards they made so much more money on their house because they staged it. They'd been there for 54, 52 years, so they had 52 years worth of stuff. So they were able to downsize, pay all cash, like all cash, and move in, move once. So the interest rate and the program, it's a 9.5% interest rate. I saw that look. So it's interest only. There's no prepayment penalty. So when they sell property A, they pay us off completely. It's a consumer use loan, so they're able to pay us off once they sell property B. So you take the average of the last 4 years that we've been doing this, and they hold our money for less than 90 days. It's very quick. This works in a seller's market. This happens if it's a downturn and everything goes upside down, this product will go away. So what we do with everybody is when we get that reaction, it's a little more expensive than conventional financing. It's a lot more, but this is what happens. Jeannine's already pre-qualifying them for a takeout loan. Before we even do anything, before we inspect the property, before we take a loan out, Jeannine already has an exit strategy, and there's 2 exit strategies. Either refinance or sell their property, or the third one is both. Sometimes they have enough equity or a lot of equity and they want to keep a small tax deduction, they'll do a small loan. So they pay us off, and then they're already in property A. So the conversation you're going to have with them is, it's expensive at 9.5%. It is, compared to conventional. But then we start doing the math as, okay, what's it going to cost you to move twice? What's it going to cost you to get in overbidding? when you guys are competing with all cash doesn't have to overbid much. Contingent offers have to overbid, and they have to overbid grossly. I do presentations down in Southern California, South Bay, San Francisco, Marin, and Sonoma. I know it's a competitive market up here. It's a competitive market everywhere right now in the Bay Area. So if people can go A-paper traditional, they're going to go right to Jeannine. Jeannine's not even going to call me. But when they need a plan B because they want a property, I'm the plan B. Let's say the Smiths, you have the Smiths as buyers. They're qualified, but for some reason, here's an example. I just caught a call on the way here. People work for Facebook. The guy quit his job 2 weeks before they were supposed to close. Quit his job because he thinks he's going to get another job. A-paper won't touch it. You guys ever heard that story yet?
What was he thinking?
So,
That happens all the time.
right. So, and you guys are laughing, but it's a true story. It's like it's a realtor's worst nightmare, and a loan officer's, right?
And he didn't get fired. He did it voluntarily.
He quit, but
It happens all the time.
but they have significant equity in their home. They're in the 50-ish demographic, so they're not old, they're not young.
To know better. Yeah, I would have thought that would have been a 30-year-old.
Yes. But I told them, I said it's no problem because we have the equity, because they have equity in their property A. They want this property B. They don't want to lose it because if they can't close in 2 weeks now, they're out. That property is going to go for $100,000 more. Everybody knows it. It's in Atherton. So we know what that market's like. It's insane. The peninsula, South Bay is insane for values right now. So again, what this gives you, it gives you a backup position. If they can go A-paper and great credit, good money, qualify, Jeannine's the girl. Absolutely. If they need property B just in case, I'm glad to do a write-up and do an approval letter. All I need is property address A, property address B, and how much they owe on property A. That's all I need. I can look it all up, do everything in 10 or 15 minutes. Jeannine's got the drill backwards and forwards. She knows what we do. So what I've done is I've got a little bridge on. Well, let me ask, does anybody have any questions yet?
What happened to the lady with chickens?
They're up in the hill.
But in between.
She didn't. She went with the bridge loan.
The bridge loan and get your house.
So the house was empty up there.
Yes.
Okay, that's important. If
Yes.
the house is empty. If it's not, you've got to move out. Then you're really.
Right. There was a little bit of like artwork and stuff. It wasn't stage stuff, but it was $2.5 million. It was stunning. Beautiful place. This is 4 years ago.
Right, and in a situation where you're moving out of a house and the seller's moving out of a house, a lot of the times you can do a consecutive close, which makes things a lot easier on everybody, and you can plan accordingly. You know what I mean? So anything is negotiable. Again, you know, if it's flexible. Of course.
Right. And the chickens are happy too. So, but that was one of the many that work, and it's not your first time home buyer. It's not your 3% down payment FHA VA loan. This is for people with significant equity. And when I say significant, 35% in both properties combined. And I'll cover that on this worksheet. So most of our clients have fantastic credit. They're not destitute. I mean, the gentleman that quit Facebook wasn't destitute. He just wasn't thinking ahead. But if they don't have a clear, intelligent exit strategy with either the Jeannine for a refinance or a logical sales price, we're not going to do the loan. And we're going to tell them we're not going to do it. We'll tell them exactly why. We need very little income information. They're going to tell us what they do. We can look them up. It's modern technology. We can find anybody and everybody. So credit, we don't have a minimum credit. Most people have pretty good credit. It's not the desperate people. It's the people that either really want the house or for some reason life changed. Something changed. So you don't want to send this for the first time home buyer. They're not going to have property A anyway. Property B is usually, what we're seeing is either transitional or there's going to be a lateral move or a downsizing. Sonoma County, Napa are fantastic places for people who come from the city. City people are selling left and right because we're at an all-time high. This is a great place to retire. Sonoma County, Napa are number 1 and number 2 where people are retiring. But we're seeing places in San Francisco getting multiple offers, $200,000 or $300,000 over asking price every single day. So you guys are in a great position to market to that. If you guys have buyers or open houses, this product, I've seen sellers with worksheets given to people that come in that don't have representation get listings. So if you guys have open houses, know this product, ask about it, teach them, say it just might be property B or plan B. So you'll want to we'll be able to go over this worksheet really quick and do a couple scenarios. But Jeannine has these for everybody if you need extras. If you want to ride on this one, don't worry about it.
I have a question. So for consumers
Yes.
that are wanting to sell their house and not have to be living in it because maybe it needs some repairs and they wanted to maybe downsize or buy a little bit further north where it's less expensive for their retirement days, is there a way to get some extra cash out of the process with maybe a bridge loan or something of that nature?
Okay.
So they can fix up their old house after they're moving into their new. I know there's a 12-month period where they have the bridge loan.
No, that's a good question. You cannot do we cannot lend more than the property price, the purchase price. So they have to cover all closing costs out of pocket. But if they have enough equity, they can do 100% of their new purchase. So let's just even numbers. Let's say they have $1 million property that's free and clear right now. They want to buy a $750,000 home. We can lend up to $750,000. So it's almost 100% financing, but it's combined loan to value. You're going to add both the properties.
What did you mean when you said 30% equity on both properties?
We'll do that in the worksheet. So here's if everybody wants to open this up really quick.
So not just the home you're going to sell and the home you're going to buy.
Both
You're talking
properties.
about something different.
Both properties combined. So,
Oh, you don't have that? Here, I have one for you.
okay. Okay. So here's how this goes.
Oh, here you go.
So you take property A. Let's just use even numbers. So $1 million. So you're going to write $1 million in this section. And I don't have a calculator, so we're going to have to try to figure this out. Okay. So, and then they want to buy property B, which is say $700,000. So you add that together, that's $1.7 million. So you take $1.7 million times 65% loan to value, which is
$1,105,000.
so $1,105,000. And let's just say they owe $400,000 on it. So we're going to take $400,000 off the $1,105,000, which is $605,000.
Let's just double check that.
705. Sorry, 705. So we're able to lend them 100% of their new purchase price. They're going to buy it $700,000. We can lend them $700,000 because they have that much equity. So to answer your question, is property A plus property B times the 65% loan to value minus any debt.
So that property B, is that the appraised value?
I'm the inspector. I'm the appraiser. I do it. We don't do formal appraisals.
And what do you base it on as opposed to a formal appraisal?
We do comps. We have a staff. I have to physically go through the properties. I have to see that the property is what it is, and we have to make sure that property A is a smart value. If they think it's worth $3 million and we think it's worth $1 million, they don't have a good exit strategy. Does that make sense? So then the other part, loan officers like Jeannine has probably refinanced these people into like 3.5%, 3.25%. So that first mortgage we're not going to pay off. We're going to let it stay on property A. and we're in second position on property A because it's probably really cheap money right now. We don't want to pay them off. So the way it works is you have property A and property B. They already have a first, so we have one note, two deeds of trust on both properties. So when they're ready to sell property A, they pay us off, and they can pay us off in whole or they can pay us off partially. So a lot of people still need a write-off, especially the guy at Facebook soon, was at Facebook. But also they want cash, they want to keep some of the cash from the sale to improve the property. But once they move out of property A, they can move into property B, and then they can fix property A up. They can clean it, paint it, carpet it, redo the floors, redo the landscaping, and staging. As you know, as a realtor, what sells more, a cluttered house or a staged house?
No, stage house you can pull up to 7% more on when you go on the market.
Over even an empty
Over what
house?
you're asking. Oh, over an empty house? Absolutely.
All day.
You,
That's
remember,
what I
people,
always thought. I just
people-
went to an open house and the real estate agent was trying to tell me, number one is empty house sells over a staged house. Like, seriously?
No.
You can't tell the size of the rooms and how
absolutely no.
many
I
years-
told you, people buy emotionally, they justify logically, and that's just kind of the way it goes. And people are so used to seeing. It's one of. Should I say this quick again? So one of the issues is that a lot of people kind of lack vision in an empty space. And it's not easy for them to imagine colors and fabrics and couches and how they want things in sizes. Exactly. Does a queen bed fit there? Does a king bed fit there? So there's a lot of questions. So not only that, but it just aesthetically, people like pretty things. Period. It keeps it really simple. So yeah, on average, when you stage a home, and even that sometimes is just the bottom staging, like the living room and the kitchen and the family room or whatever's downstairs, and maybe even leave the upstairs empty. That's up to the seller. But even just doing that can absolutely attain you 7% over, up to 7% over asking.
And do you know what the cost is? So what's the relative value?
It
What's
de-
it cost versus what do you?
It very much depends on what stager you're using and the extent of your staging. So you can get a number of different options. So it can run you anywhere from, $2,500 to $3,000 for staging, all the way up to $10,000 a month for
Yeah, I
staging.
was gonna say that's a month.
Yeah, that's a month for sure. But $10,000, you're really getting into more of your fine homes, luxury properties. All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, like I said, going back to the type of clientele, it's people with a lot of equity. They don't want the hassle. They have the desire to buy the property, and they don't want to get in a bidding war with contingent offers. So that's where you're going to see your benefit. It's easier. You don't move twice. I mean, one of the most stressful things, probably the top three, besides public speaking, is moving. So that helps a lot of people. People don't have time. They don't want to do it. And if you do it, you have to do it. If you want to do it, just do it once, not twice. So there's a lot of convenience. It's the cost of doing business for the cost helps ease the process. So we get it, but if you're the A paper that can qualify for A paper money, conventional money, absolutely do it. And we'll tell everybody to do that first.
So your formula doesn't depend on income and assets and credit. It's strictly on equity of the home.
99% collateral based.
So if you're wanting to buy a home that's probably more than you can afford or bigger than the one you have, and so is there a chance even if a qualified person maybe can't afford it because they don't have equity in the new one and their home one is a little bit on the small side?
They're going to need the equity because the math has got to work out.
Okay.
And if there's rare reasons that we turn people down, we're going to pre-qualify them enough to know what they do for a living, if they're going to be able to make the pay. And Jeannine knows all this stuff. I mean, she's going to know it. She's going to have a good idea ahead of time. So again, it's primarily collateral based. The only reason we ask for a credit report is we have to make sure there's no tax liens, because they will take superior position over us right off the bat. So if there are any tax liens, they're either going to have to pay them off ahead of time or ask them to subordinate. IRS and Franchise Tax Board is not keen on subordinating. So had it happen once.
Done it once.
Right, it's rare. It's rare. So That's kind of it. I mean, I'm love to hear questions. If there's more questions, yes.
Are there other fees besides the 9.5 interest?
Yes. So the cost is 3.5 points, 3.5% of the loan amount, and a $9.95 processing fee. And that is, you have to be able to pay that out of your own pocket, out of your own proceeds. For TRID law, which is the new consumer use law, they have to it's consumer financing disclosures.
I'm sorry, was the interest rate 9 or 9?
9.5.
What is that based
Interest
on?
only payment.
It's an interest-only payment.
Yeah, but what's it based on as far as fluctuation?
It's fixed. It doesn't change. It's fixed.
And then, I'm sorry, forgive me, because I might have been eating cheese. This, what you just said, the 3% of the loan, or 3 points, 9.95 processing fee. So let's just talk then about the 9.5% interest only. That's for how long?
As long as they need the money for it. It goes to 11 months. It's the maximum they can have it.
Okay, so, oh gosh, that's plenty of time to sell a house.
Right.
Okay, fine. So then they sell the house, and so they're only paying that 9.5% for the time that
Until the house sells.
Until the house
No
sells.
prepayment penalty.
No
And
prepayment.
then you get paid off, and then boom, they can roll over into their.
Could be. We've had people pay us off in less than 30 days. Because this only works in this market. When it's a hot market, it's a competitive market, this is the time it works. If everything starts on a downside, this product will be irrelevant.
But then for tax benefits, they can choose to pay you partially and then refi
And
into
then I
a
give
lower
them a
interest.
conventional loan.
Correct.
For those.
So for
And
the tax benefits.
and that's the plan. Right before we even move on with the buyers, we're already pre-qualifying you for either a refinance or a proper sale.
Exit strategy.
Exactly.
Right.
Did you said that you guys set the price for their current home or the property value? Do you use the purchase price of the one they're looking to buy?
Correct.
Or do you come up with your own valuation?
Well, if it's logical, if it's grossly overpriced, we're going to tell people that you're grossly overpaying.
Okay.
Actually your transaction, it was her dream home, but there was so much equity in the other property that we were okay with it because the combined loan value was fine, but she wanted the property and she was not
7 offers behind her.
So
right.
she decided to bid.
She totally. She had to
went
do
for
better.
it.
Right.
Everybody else was doing it. It was a very desirable home.
And it was all these
Hear that more and more right now.
Yeah.
Right.
This was a very special. I mean, it was downtown Petaluma. It was everything.
right.
Everything you don't probably want.
So, but that's what happens as with people that are going in without selling their house first. If you're going to sell your house, you got to move once, sell your house, move into the new property. There's the math you got to ask yourself. How much is storage? How much is moving? How common is, or how, I don't know the rental market up here as much, but
To get a month to month.
it's tighter than,
We're at 99% occupancy in our rental market, and rents just as much as a mortgage, if not more. So it doesn't make any sense.
And they want a 12-month lease.
And they want a 12, yeah, month to month, forget it. And they want first month's, last month's, and deposit. So it doesn't.
what about pets?
No pets typically.
What about kids to move? And
Kids are fine.
okay, kids are fine. Okay, good. Just checking.
Most of the time, right?
Right.
Well, and the other thing that's really important to remember is if you look at interest rates over a 30-year clip, you're looking at an average of 8.5%. And I know everybody's been in this beautiful place of bliss when it comes to interest rates right now being 3. Well, they were last year 3.5, and now they're maybe 4. So I know that it's a hard pill to swallow when you hear 9.5%. But the fact that you can pay that off or pay a partial and then refi to a lower interest rate, it's really just an awesome tool in your toolbox to use to outplay the players in this market. You know what I mean? That's the way I look at it. And in case you don't know, because you haven't been buyers in a long time, of course cash rules, and so that's nice because you can always come in right at asking, or if it's a property that's a little less desirable, you can even look at coming in a little below asking.
Offer super fast close. Here's
Right,
your money.
and then
Bye
tighten
bye.
up your terms. So, in the hierarchy of things, cash always wins, and then, as a listing agent looking at offers for my clients, cash definitely comes first. There's less problems, there's no appraisal, there's no loan, so we all get that. And then, of course, conventional loan would be second. But if I had the option, I think, to do something like this, knowing what I know behind the scenes in this market, that's a no-brainer for me. So,
And Rick, I don't know if you know this, I don't know the answer to this question. Do you know if the points are going to be tax deductible on the bridge loans?
The points are tax deductible.
Tax deductible.
Yeah, it's considered a loan origination fee, so you can write that off.
I mean, this is a win for everybody, because you have private investors, they're getting 9 to 10%.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you keep 0.5%, they're getting 9% on the money.
yeah, yeah, it's a sweet
It's
deal.
guaranteed for them.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, and we get the short term. You know, we get it. We're not. It doesn't surprise us to get a call from Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Hey, we just sold our place. You know, it took them a month. Took them 2 months. And Jeannine always has them pretty much pre-approved with a loan app, credit report. They're ready to go.
Yeah.
So who are your backers? Are they private individuals, or is it a company? Who's fronting the 9% money?
With investors.
I've got it all in the back of my truck.
That truck is now gone.
Right.
So my, yeah, my unscrupulous friend.
Right. So we have fractional, we have a fund, and we have private investors as well. So, but with bridge loans, I mean, it's such an uber hot market right now that people, again, don't mind paying a little bit of the price if you compare apples to apples with moving twice, with security, with qualifying for the rent. I mean, rental market, what I've kind of done the math, rents are higher than a mortgage by about 10% these days.
That's why you have the gridlock.
Right. that's
Right.
the great look.
Right. And we've
Look at it, we're open to downsizing, we're open to relocating, we're open to all this stuff. When you do the math and you look at what you're going from, it's like,
Well, let's just say you have a hypothetical scenario. You would just call Jeannine and say, okay, here's my property A. Here's how much I owe. Here's our ballpark price range, because you kind of get a ballpark within $50,000 to $70,000 of where you want to go. Jeannine can write all that up. We'll do the math up to 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, and then call a mover, ask them how much that's going to cost to move twice. A rental.
I'm not worried about that.
Okay.
I think I'm more worried about where do we go?
Where does she go?
Yeah.
And
Right.
you have to find property B.
Right. Well, guess what? You just stepped in the ring with the cash buyers.
Well, yeah.
But you gotta find that B first.
Right.
Well, that's why, I
That's
mean,
what Angela's for.
Right.
yeah, I mean, first of all, I'm going
But
to tell
it's
you.
tough for her too.
Well, I'm gonna, the way that, listen, buying a house is a process of elimination. It's not a process of selection. Okay, so basically, what you do, just quickly, you look at how much you want to spend, and you look at your lifestyle and kind of where you want to live. And really, it boils down to how much you want to spend. And then I'm going to pull out a big old map, and I'm going to circle where what you want lives in Santa Rosa. Okay, so real quick, we're going to be able to tell if what you want is realistic or if what you want is really out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
So,
I know what you
so that's the thing, and that's why we wanted to hold this as a place to do a little icebreaker for you to start your research, and then Jeannine and I are offering no obligation consultations, one-on-one. You can call her with your numbers, you can call me to send you property, and we can really start to dive in a little bit more into what's really going on in the market. Because, you know, if you're just visiting open houses, you're just touching on the tip of the iceberg. You don't get to see everything in open houses. Most people don't even open their homes to open houses because they think it's a waste of time. So the only way to really understand your market is not by Zillow, it's by working with a professional who can really help you to understand our market.
Oh, and that would be one more question too for Rick. So condition of property B, if it's maybe not in the best condition, but it's priced right, if somebody wanted to buy it and fix it up before they moved into it.
Absolutely, you have 11 months. Yeah, you can stay in property A. You have 11 months. So you can stay in property A, your current home, for 5-6 months and fix up property B the way you want it.
Flip house with cash. so
Correct.
You're not worried about, you know, the conventional financing, not approving it, and all of the issues that come with that.
Right.
It is nice to buy your B before you get rid of your A.
That's
All
Yes.
these-
Yeah.
awesome.
And it gives you a chance to declutter, and instead of putting stuff in storage, you put it in the
Correct.
property.
That's right.
Well, and let me say this as well. You know, of the thousands building permits on the city of Santa Rosa's desk right now, I'm going to tell you that the vast majority of those are 2-story because there's no return on investment for building single stories. So what you have right now, that's why Oakmont, you know, it's insane in Oakmont. I mean, prices there skyrocketed in the last 2-3 years because that's the only nice single-story homes in the Santa Rosa area. Other than that, you are probably going to want to take advantage of the fact that if you buy like Bennett Valley, Rankin Valley, those nice northeastern side of home. Guess what? A lot of those houses were built in the 70s, late 60s, and they still look like it. So having
Right.
that option to pull that money out and do the renovations while you still stay in your house is a really lovely option.
Yeah, we don't mind the retirement communities. We do Rossmore out in Walnut Creek, Oakmont quite a bit, so there's no restriction on that. Condos, PUDs, anything like that, that's fine. There's a homeowners association and there's litigation. We don't care unless there's construction on or a defect with the unit we're lending on. So there's litigation because everybody sues everybody, you know, and you just do. I mean, you see it all the time. A paper has to fill out a homeowners association questionnaire. If litigation's checked, correct me if I'm wrong, right? If it's checked, dead. And what we do, we ask for the homeowners association to give us the documents. What's the issue? Is it a sidewalk on the other side of the street? Is it a lawsuit with the contractor for something else but has nothing to do with our unit? We don't care. So we did one in Vallejo, beautiful complex, but there was no, it was so over, the construction was horrible. There was lawsuits everywhere. So we just said, you have no way to get out of this if you want to buy this. So nobody's going to lend on it. It's cheap. It was cheap, but you got to go in all cash because nobody will take you out. There's no way for Jeannine to refinance that. So another scenario I had was in Oakland, and a gentleman inherited a property free and clear, and he wanted to buy in California side of Tahoe. Walked in this property, and it was hoarder beyond hoarder, but it's up in the beautiful Oakland Hills, great views, but you couldn't see the walls, you could barely see the ceiling, there was so much stuff. And he was a younger man, 45-ish, and we were able to appraise the value of the house. We gave it a realistic value, and the investor says, I'm okay. And the young man was sold his house for, we recommended a contractor, a person to clean the house out, and then the guy bought the house in Tahoe, his little dream home, little cabin. And he was real happy because he inherited the home and he was able to buy it.
Out of curiosity, this person's a hoarder. He sold the house, he left all that stuff behind it, and a contractor came in and got rid of it?
Yep.
By definition, that hoarder actually left all of that stuff?
Maybe they were committed.
Well, there's two things. The young man got help, and the investor was the contractor. Worst case, they just knocked the house down. It's all the lot because he had beautiful views.
Hoarding is usually symptomatic of other things.
I see it frequently.
Deferred maintenance and things like that typically come from that hoarding situation. So I think what I want to do, just to respect everybody's time, is wrap it up. We're going to hang out for a little bit. If you want to mingle, ask some questions, grab another drink, or grab a little nosh, please feel free to do so. We're just really grateful that you came out today. Like I said, we'll hang out for a little bit longer if you want to talk, and if not, then again, thanks for coming.
Trees and fruit trees were very nice.
Oh, good, good.
Not
Awesome.
to mention the cat was good.
Thank you, everybody. Appreciate your time. Any other questions?
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
It's really just to shut the video off so you guys